You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Just go to Indeed.com/kidsandfamily right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
Are you ready to learn the 3 secrets to launching a successful podcast? Hi, I'm Bill, a recent client of the Podcast Mogul. If you've been thinking about starting a podcast but aren't sure where to begin, he's got you covered. He is hosting a free webinar where he will share the 3 secrets that can help you launch, grow, and monetize your podcast without any fancy equipment or technical headaches. Click the link in the show notes to save your spot now and let him help get your podcast off the ground.
You know, that's such a great word, Renaissance, because I actually feel that today's entrepreneurs actually have to be Renaissance people because, you know, we connect dots. So you can bring an idea from, say, your podcasting world and you can pollinate it in a whole other industry.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Season 3 of Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm, of course, Phil Better, and this season is presented to you by Unicorn Incubator. Unicorn is the largest rural incubator accelerator of its kind in the world, located in southwestern France. Its mission is to give entrepreneurs and their families their lives back while helping them build game-changing technology startups. Startups in the company are provided with a complete ecosystem for success, with direct access to proven funding sources, top-notch legal and accounting representation, access to the world's most generous business incentives, and most importantly, a dedicated sales and marketing accelerator that will put a startup's product or service on the fast track to success. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. I am, of course, your host with the most, Phil Better, and in this episode, we are talking and investing in Afifa Siddiqui, the founder and CEO of Canada Payroll Services. She's a multi-time CEO and founder, so I was really happy to get her on. And of course, she was Canadian on top of it. You know how much I love my Canadian entrepreneurs. We get to talking about how throughout her engineering career, Afifa has held diverse roles from technology implementation to project management to even business development. She shares some tips on how to succeed as a digital entrepreneur today in the HR field, which is to find the right problem to solve and with the aid of technology, use that as an opportunity to create scalable businesses. And what's coming up next for her? I want to thank her so much for being here. So a little bit about Afifa. In 1999, she founded Cronos Consulting Group, a niche engineering and science recruitment firm guided by her vision to improve the headhunting experience, a company that expanded its services offering to provide workforce solutions. And then in 2014, she started Careerleaf, a white label SaaS Job Board Solution, which she sold globally. And then in 2017, she launched Canadian Payroll Services, CPS, to provide management payroll solutions to global companies hiring remote Canadians. This was such a great conversation to have. So without further ado, let's invest in the conversation.
All right, so now we're recording. Afifa, I'm going to explain quickly how the podcast works. It's up to you if you want visuals or not. We can always do audio. I have no problem. It's a very simple conversation. We talk about your journey as an entrepreneur. Think of this as part of your business card. You can say what you want, let anybody know, and then at the end I give you 5 minutes to pretty much pitch any product or service you offer to help the entrepreneurs in the listeners and business owners that listen as well.
Oh, you know, so Phil, I don't actually serve the entrepreneur community per se, but I mean, I'm happy to talk about the business, but I listened to your last podcast, which is quite fun. So, I mean, I think it'll be a good experience, but I'm not sure I have anything for the consumer audience. Is that
Well, no, there
an issue?
are. I do. No. Do you offer services to business owners?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I
But
do have some business owners like that have companies that require HR in that. Or
okay,
are
so
you
let me. No,
large companies like
yeah, yeah.
like C-suite companies type deals?
Yeah, let me just tell you quickly what we do. So
Okay.
Canadian Payroll Services, we are what's called an employer of record service. Now, it's not that well known here in Canada, but in the US, this is kind of commoditized service. It's a PEO, a professional employer organization. So what specifically we do is we become the employer for American and European companies that don't have a company presence in Canada. It's very specialized. We're very niche. Yes.
Well, that's perfect because I've never talked to anybody, and that's super interesting. And obviously, I do have international listeners as well, so
Okay.
they can share your services with some of their businesses
Absolutely.
to help grow the Canadian market, because that's what I'm all about, growing Canadian markets.
No, I don't mind doing a video, but it is a podcast, right? So it's an audio format?
Yeah, it's audio. It's up to you, because sometimes, some people like seeing, so it's an easier conversation. Other people are like, I don't want you to see my hair because it's horrible. So we'll just do audio. So it's up to you. I don't mind.
Oh, we'll stick to audio because the sun is in my eyes right now.
Okay, awesome. So give me 1 second. All right. So, Afifa, how about we start?
Oh, it's Afifa.
Afifa, I apologize.
No problem. You could say it backwards if you wanted.
Afifa. Oh, that's true. Oh my God. So you started payroll, Canadian Payroll Services, correct?
Yes, Canadian Payroll Services is actually my third successful company amongst probably a dozen other, let's call it, failures, which I think is common to the entrepreneur community, right?
Yeah. Everybody, even in podcasting, you always have one or two failures. Hopefully this isn't another failure for me. So far, it's doing great. So I'm happy with that. So if you don't mind me asking, what was your first entrepreneurial business that you made?
So 20 years ago, I launched a very niche specialized recruiting agency, very specifically for big industrial engineering projects. I myself, I'm a power engineer, so electrical engineering background. And, after working for a decade in this space, project management, like I did all sorts of work, I actually had my entire industry literally overnight disappear. And it went outsourced to India and China. I was in the electronics space at the time doing applications engineering. And so while I was looking for work, I actually stumbled upon the need for really good candidate-focused recruitment. So that's how I launched Cronos Consulting Group. And the industries we served, where we got some really great brand success, was mining, oil and gas, infrastructure. So really big engineering projects.
Yeah, that's some big businesses. So I'm guessing like SNC level companies would be in your consulting group type deal.
Yeah, so the consulting engineering area, we became, well, partly because I did some
you
work
already had
myself.
those connections.
Yeah, well, I was a protection control engineer, so I knew the world and I knew how to speak it. And I think that's really the thing. A lot of I listened to some of your other folks, and how you speak to your audience matters. Being able to use their language, their their jargon, and then that's what I found. Like each niche that I built, because I'm a big believer of niches.
Yeah.
We literally learn their language, be able to speak to people like they understand where you're coming from. Another niche we created was in the renewable sector back when it was just starting. Solar, wind, geothermal. It wasn't that well known 15 years ago, and so we created that niche for ourselves.
That's incredible. Not only did you jump into a niche that you started, but you created a full new niche just for the heck of it. Now, if that isn't entrepreneurial, I don't know what is.
Well, I'm not sure if entrepreneurs do it for the heck of it. I personally have a belief that you follow the money. Because I do love creating stuff. But, I also advise other entrepreneurs of maybe what and where to spend your time.
You're helping out, saying, look, I've already done this. This is learn from my experience, which is a great thing in entrepreneurial things to do. I'd be like a mentor for the next group, because if you're not helping the next group, nothing's going to innovate. Nothing's going to be able to help you push you to create new stuff. Yeah, that's something I love about entrepreneurs. Like people listen to each other when they need and have to source advice. Go to your competitor, build a nice, competitive, friendly relationship. That's how I met my husband. So there you have it, people. You can even meet the love of your life too. So
there you go.
That's incredible. So you jump into this creating a new niche. What niche in the solar area? What business was that?
So basically, it's all the same. The recruiting company, Cronos Consulting Group. So I built that, and one of the things that I don't define myself as a recruiter. I really am truly, I guess, one of those entrepreneurs. Even when I was younger, as a kid, I always had a side hustle before that term was around, and I think entrepreneurs just have that nature. You find problems to solve, and you solve things that people will pay you for. It's as simple as that. And so Cronos came out of my need to find work. And as I'm interviewing myself, I realized that I know all these people that these companies are having a hard time recruiting well. That's the trick, recruiting well. So how would I want to be spoken to? And that's kind of how I crafted, the recruiting methodology, I'll call it, for Cronos. And so, every industry goes through cycles. So as I said, when I was in electronics, that whole industry sort of flipped, got outsourced, and then those jobs ended up disappearing. So, people have to reinvent themselves. And I reinvented myself as, in the recruiting world, and working then in mining, then in oil and gas. Like, we had this massive, amazingly good time when the oil sands were at the peak, right? That turned into a massive niche market for us. But then after a few years, then you get climate change happening. You get all of a sudden a flip in government, and nobody wants to fund those projects. So let's go to infrastructure, build that niche market. And, again, it's about following where the projects go, because there's always going to be work happening. Like, even in this pandemic time, there have been infrastructure projects being built. Sure, a lot of construction projects were put on hold, but our big area right now in the recruitment side is in nuclear. So we work with the nuclear industry and place very, very specialized people.
That's impressive.
But that's not really where I'm focused right now. The Canadian, So just a few years ago, I actually run experiments in Cronos, and this is another aspect of entrepreneurship. Because one thing I recognize, the industries are changing, the markets are changing. Technology is actually a proponent of change. So, you always have to be either looking ahead, planning what's the next. That's the big thing I learned out of recruitment. There's always going to be change. What you're doing right now, you might be doing great, but for sure it's going to go down, because that's exactly what happens in the market. So I'm always running experiments. And Canadian Payroll Services, I knock on wood, it's been our biggest success. And it came as an experiment, because I was looking for, how do I use my existing business infrastructure? So I was payrolling contractors, like incorporated people, very specialized. And what we found is there's all of these non-Canadian companies that want to hire Canadians. And so there we go. We stumbled into another niche and have never looked back. We had to literally spin out a whole separate company to service.
That's amazing. That's exactly what I think, like, Gary Vaynerchuk is kind of doing his world. He started VaynerMedia, and you started Cronos Consulting Group, and then from that you're spitting out Canadian Payroll Services.
Mm-hmm.
That's super impressive. But you're doing it in a different niche, which is amazing.
Yeah. I don't know if amazing is the word, but
coming from me who has no companies, it's amazing. I'm just starting my entrepreneur journey, so seeing someone who's been in the thick of it for a couple of years, a few decades, is for me, it's amazing, because it's like, okay, this is something I can do. Like, if I want, I can go down this path with podcasting, and I can end up doing multiple businesses being spun out of it. So
yeah, I mean, podcasting is amazing. Like, I couldn't have imagined 10 years ago that like there's so many topics, and there are passionate listeners, and folks who are really invested in learning. They go and find folks like you, right? And this is incredible to me to have watched this whole industry spin out, and it's just going to get better. Because like even when you look at the sites, you podcasters, you've even brought blogging along. Yeah. And blogging I know came first, but look at the hop, skip, and a jump from blogging to podcasting.
Yeah, and even from that, you have the video podcasts as well. More of a TV kind of thing. It's amazing, because I feel like this generation, my generation, and the Gen X's and all, they all have taken what our parents used to watch, like TV and radio, and made it a lot more efficient so that everybody has access to it. So like podcasting is the new radio, YouTube is like the new TV. Yep. So you can have entertaining shows, or you can have, sit down Oprah type things, and you'll find whoever you want. So it's amazing.
So what's interesting? There's so much tech that actually waits for other tech to arrive. Like, for example, there was this whole concept and framework for blogging and podcasting, but it couldn't happen until we got really good high-speed internet, good streaming. That actually enabled the catch-up of all of these. And this is what I find fascinating about business in general and entrepreneurship. Like, for example, right now, the whole electric vehicle market. Yeah. Electric vehicles have been around for decades. What's stopped the proliferation of them, like the Teslas couldn't go anywhere until the battery solution was solved.
Yep.
Right? So you're waiting for something to come along so that you've got like these...
At a click of a finger, it's high speeds around, because we already know how to make cars, because we've been doing it with the combustion engine for over 100 years. And so that industry is already the most efficient. All we need is, we need to invest in the battery, and because tech is like cuts the time in half and half and half every time we make it, it just gets better.
It's only in this last decade that we could make batteries for cars small enough that you can actually put them in the car. Yeah. Right. So that, and then of course you have to get more life out of them, and then it's fascinating. And that, like, I've been watching that, and it's going to go even more so. I mean, look at phones. We're actually carrying, the bigger computers than we did. Like, okay, so I'm Gen X too. But when I first started, like I was one of the early Commodore 64 owners. And, my brothers and I, we would program on that thing, but there were so many limitations. So again, the speed of technology, I'm sure there were really, really bright people who could code and learn.
Oh yeah, of course. Because of them, that's how we got to the cell phone, where we are today. Yeah. Like, if they didn't, like I watched something on Bill Gates, Inside the Mind of Bill Gates, and he was explaining his story in the first one about how he kind of like stole data just to learn to code.
Yeah.
And thanks to that, like, if that didn't happen, we wouldn't be where we are with like Microsoft and Google and Apple and all that. So it's amazing to see the floodgates open with the creativity that we have access to now. It's I feel like it's a new Renaissance period. We just came out of a little mini dark age, and we're going into this Renaissance, a new Renaissance for us.
That's such a great word, Renaissance, because I actually feel that today's entrepreneurs actually have to be Renaissance people, because, we connect dots. So you can bring an idea from, say, your podcasting world, and you can pollinate it in a whole other industry, because you come in, you bring ideas, and you don't have to be like this whole idea of sort of putting a box around people. That, I think, is what we need to get rid of. We need to allow this renaissance to happen, because we can pollinate ideas from industry to industry, business to business. You know what I mean?
Oh, fully agree with you. One of the guys, and again, this is really funny because I was watching another Netflix documentary that talks exactly about that, like removing the boxes and cross-pollinating.
Yeah.
And a guy who, I can't remember his name, and I'm a little mad that I forget it, but a guy who Bill Gates considers one of the smartest guys. He's a multidisciplinary person. He's like, he went from rocket science to anthropology to cooking to robotics and all this, and he's just cross-pollinating all these ideas and reinventing, and it's amazing what thanks to the openness of the internet, like I knew the Library of Alexandria pretty much.
Yes. Yeah. It's very exciting times, I tell you.
Oh yes. So you've, like, I'm just going a bit more back to your story. You've had multiple businesses that have been obviously different varying degrees of success depending on the market. What's another lesson you really learned from maybe one of the ones that failed? Always a good story from failure, some lessons learned.
Yeah. So when I first started Cronos, there was another business I was running called Wasabi Business Development. And it was really just, again, I was freelancing, and I was doing business development for a variety of other companies, because I was using it to learn myself, to see what I want to be in my next career. But I would get these projects, and very quickly I would lose interest. So, I mean, I learned a lot about myself, but it wasn't fun. I wasn't able to be successful on behalf of my clients, even though the success came from me personally. But it taught me a lesson that, if I'm going to go contract with someone, I am accountable for not just, my own service, but, anybody who works for me has to, adhere to or deliver to our deliverables. So that was a personal failure as well as the business, but I learned so much from it, baking in the things I love to do into my own, successful businesses, bringing back that I do like biz dev, but I may do it completely differently from what my market needs. So then hiring the right people who can do the things that I can't.
Yeah, that's a really important lesson, and it's one that kind of is echoed by Sean Founder. He did Auto Close. He's a SaaS business guy that I interviewed last week, and he was mentioning that one of his early lessons he learned, he had to learn how to hire and fire very quickly. So it's kind of similar to what you're saying. You have this, you need to learn really quickly that you need to have the proper team in place when you do have running the business.
Oh, absolutely. And in that whole hiring, firing mode, like, take your time, hire, do the diligence, hire well, but as soon as you realize that you don't have the right people, fire fast. So I used to be the opposite. I used to hire fast and then take way too long.
Yep.
So now it's flipped. Yeah.
I think it's because people are scared of becoming like, oh, he's a or he or she is a horrible person, or they're a horrible person.
Yeah.
And you have to realize, no, this is the best for both of us, because you're going to not be happy doing your job, and I'm going to be mad at you because you're doing a horrible, crappy job, and no one's happy. Like, so let's cut ties. You can find something that you're happy, and I'll be happy finding someone to replace you, and everybody wins. And
just around that, in my current business, Canadian Payroll Services, this is actually a service. Like, we provide, like when we do payroll, we also provide HR. And this is a great learning that people don't like giving feedback. I mean, bad feedback. Feedback that would help their folks. And there's actually a need right there. How to advise companies and HR groups or hiring managers to actually speak in a way that gives people the good feedback so that they can improve themselves, or to be able to arrive at that place where you decide, no, this isn't really working, but to do it in a gentle way that people walk away feeling good.
Yeah.
And it's a whole reframe. And because we actually do that and help people, I actually, it started off just as, helping clients out, but this is actually part of the service.
Yeah, it's another service that you provide to your clients, which is awesome,
Yeah. Yeah, like say you had a couple employees and you love certain things about them, but not other things. We would talk to you and say, okay, what are the things that are not working? Just have a little, like it's a little therapeutic even.
Yeah, it's a business therapy session. That's what it is. You've just created a new industry, business therapy. Wow.
Yeah, well, it's part of a package.
There you go.
Yeah.
If you need some business therapy. Afifa,
well, in the world of remote work right now, which everybody is, we were already servicing our like frankly, I don't know how I did this, but I'm so loving it. It's 6 years we never met a client.
Oh my God, that's my dream.
And I mean, even now, like Zoom is great, but we only started using the video calls before it was all like just phone, right?
Yeah.
And cell. And it was great because again, we're also bringing jobs to Canada. We're bringing clients awareness that, right in like we have such educated, amazing people in our country.
And now we're not losing it to a brain drain because we can do the jobs remotely, which is great because that's just going to boost Canada in the world.
Yeah, and the need is there. I mean, there's a lot of need all over the world, but in the U.S. particularly, I mean, there's right now. I mean, I'm really hoping everything sort of settles down in the various areas and challenges they're having in the States. Mm-hmm. But we're very ready partners, and we're the good neighbors.
Yeah.
We're polite and professional, and we get stuff done like we say. It's like a national quality.
It is. It's something I noticed with all the Canadian entrepreneurs I've interviewed over this last little while. The biggest thing is like, we'll give you value. Like even if we don't work together, we'll give you that amazing value because you know what? It just makes the industry, it makes the world better, and why not make everything better for everybody? So. Yeah. It's like the friendly next door neighbor. When you need a cup of sugar, we'll help you out. That's what we're here for.
Yeah, and actually, it's a very core part of my own belief system. With Cronos, for example, when I first launched, my entire team, I would tell them, even if there's people who are not part of our niche, anyone who has the courage to call you, pick up the phone and give them 15 minutes of your time. If you can't help them, tell them, no, you can't help, but give them some advice and some sound direction. And, you do that, it pays dividends because people remember. Mm-hmm. I still get leads coming from folks I dealt with 10, 15 years ago, and I don't remember them, but they remember that I gave them advice and I didn't have to.
That's exactly it. That's actually something really core to me as well, is just helping because I'm in all these podcasting groups and I have the experience, I have the ability because I've interviewed so many entrepreneurs that I'm learning their lessons. I'm like, hey, I just talked to this person. This is how they answered that type of question. So maybe that can help you. So they're getting this free kind of, therapy session as well, business therapy. I think that's what podcasts can be now. Business therapy, because you're getting to learn these things.
Well, you're actually a very natural cross-pollinator, right? Just due to the nature of what you're doing, which is a great place to be.
I'm very, very happy at it. It's one of my favorite things was learning about different things growing up. Like maybe not directly math, but if I talk to someone like a scientist and they explain passionately about something, I'm like, oh my God, that's interesting. I want to learn more. Or and by talking to you, I'm learning a whole bunch of business tips that you've learned, but also I never knew that there was your market, your niche existed. And maybe this is going to help other people go, oh, maybe that's something I can look into.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And that's the thing about, entrepreneurs talking to each other, because you never know where an industry is going to pop up. There's businesses and industries right now that just did not exist 5 years ago, 10 years ago, right? Podcast being one of them. That's one easy example.
SaaS.
SaaS. So one of my other businesses is called Careerleaf, and what we do is a very niche job board software. So it's a white labeled product, SaaS based, and it literally allows companies to launch their own job sites, job/recruiter hybrids. Anybody who wants to run a job board online, that's what we build, and we brand it. And part of what the next piece of it is to actually do the service end, to help you actually launch it and make money.
That's pure. Wow. The fact that you're like running 3 companies and still turning out experiments is amazing. But that's what you've learned from being a remote recruiter.
Well, Phil, the thing is, I'm not a recruiter. I'm an entrepreneur.
I'm sorry. I apologize. You learned from your recruiting business.
Yeah. And what it's interesting is I don't like recruiting, but I love the outcome of recruiting. It's a funny thing. And so I really focus on hiring good
people to handle that part of the things that you don't like. That's another lesson that I learned from communicating and talking with the new digital entrepreneur. It's learning where you can hire other people to do the jobs that you don't like, so that you can concentrate on growing the parts that you enjoy. Because you've already made the template. This is exactly what we need to do. Follow it and you'll be successful. And people love when there's a template because they can follow it and it's like, okay, it's easy to do. I don't have to worry, because you can hire those people that do enjoy the 9 to 5, but you also can have those entrepreneurial people that you're like, yes, you're an entrepreneur. I'm going to help you. How about you want to run this and see where we can go with this?
Yeah, I mean, again, you never know where that next idea, much less successful ideas, and that's why I'm a big believer in running experiments and exploring. And I always have like a certain part of the business that will be looking for either parallels, next adjacent, or forward next ideas. I think you have to.
Oh yeah, no, it's something that's. It's because I kind of just got an idea just because of your Careerleaf business. I'm like, well, I can create a place where podcasters can come find, editors and like a Fiverr, but specifically for podcasters.
As a matter of fact, I was about to say something similar to you, that here's an area, like, because you yourself are an entrepreneur, there's all sorts of other podcasts looking for, let's just say, guests. You can make a community for that. You can make a community for, how do I differentiate my site and my messaging around my podcasting? Like, there's all sorts of services you could do, because, I haven't come across someone like that yet.
Neither have I. I haven't found many specifics niched out to, because now it's just a general niche. Now I can hit if I want specific niches and control that market, but it's so amazingly interesting.
Yeah.
I love where the world is going now. It's such an exciting time.
I think anybody who's got the will to actually execute in an idea has a greater capacity for success these days. I think the world is littered with so many failed ideas because the execution isn't behind it. And folks who can actually do the cross-pollination we're talking about, to go and actually have the willpower and the resilience to keep at it. Because sure enough, you're going to fall. You just got to keep getting up, dusting off, keep going. And that's what builds resilient companies.
That's so true. It builds not only resilient companies, but resilient people as well, that we can go. And I think that kind of is, Canadians are really resilient because we do deal with, going back to the weather, because we had to be kind of, our ancestors or people who choose to come to Canada, you have to have a bit of resiliency because the weather, like you said, last week was horrible weather, and this week,
-16 freezes your nose. You can't barely breathe.
It's like, what were you thinking coming over here? Like,
exactly.
Like I can understand, like, my ancestors, like, they kind of came over. I've been a Canadian, my dad's side, for like 25 generations, whereas my mom's she's first generation. Like, her parents chose to come here after knowing full well what the weather is like. So like
Yeah.
that shows how great the blood and the people that we have in Canada are. We're resilient people, and it shows in everything we do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think we also are good entrepreneurs because, for the most part, we have fewer daylight hours than the rest of the planet.
Yeah, we have to figure out how to get things done quick.
Yeah.
Because like when it hits 5 o'clock, it's like nights, like 7 months of the year. Like 7 months of the year, 7 o'clock, or even 6 o'clock. It's nighttime and everybody's like, okay, it's time for bed, people. But also we have so many vast different, like each province has so many different people. So the unique entrepreneur businesses that come out from there is also great.
Yeah, I agree. The hardiness of our land actually does build very robust. And it's like our companies are also sought after. I mean, I don't know in the whole equity space, for example, there's so many companies, they just very interested in how Canadian companies and partnering with us. And this is not just from the U.S. It's a worldwide interest in Canadian entities. It's kind of cool.
Oh yeah, no, I'm super interested because I work in the finance industry as a day job, as I build my side hustles, and I see it as well. Like the businesses that we are dealing with, I'm like, oh, so we have their client, but I thought they were like, and so it's really interesting seeing because I see these big businesses working that I thought were only in the U.S. but are international, and they're here in Canada, so it's nice to see.
Yeah. No, we're doing good in the world. Many fronts.
Slow and steady. Everybody didn't count Canada, but we're coming in.
Well, we are the size of like half of a state, right?
Yeah, we are like the second largest country in the world landmass wise. Yeah. So makes sense. It took us a little while to get running. Afifa, I want to thank you so much. We're coming up to the end of the episode. If you have any, another word of wisdom or anything you would like to share, final thing with my guests, please, the floor is all yours.
So I would, when people say, what's a good idea? What could I do as a business? I always go back to first principles. Solve a problem. Find out where there is, be the business first responder, have this notion that anywhere that there's issues happening, that's where entrepreneurs need to run to. Find a way to either deliver a better product, a better service, solve that problem, and do it really well with great customer service. You do that and people are willing to pay you, you're onto something. And, this is as opposed to, that other model where build it and they will come. So, of the two, I really believe you solve a problem, you get people happy. That is what's going to build your resilient business. People will then recommend it. It alleviates actually a lot of marketing because it ends up being word of mouth referrals. And that's a great place to start.
Oh yeah, and it's even better because you get that more trusted brand feeling from it. Because if this big business over here, or if my buddy John is saying it, you're a good business person to work with, then you're obviously someone good to work with. He doesn't just work with anybody. So yeah, that is some very wise words. Thank you so much for being a guest, Afifa. It was a pleasure talking with another great Canadian entrepreneur on the show, and I want to wish you a very lovely evening.
Well, thank you, Phil. It was great chatting with you, and sorry I was late.
Oh, no worries. No worries.
Okay.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Guys, I want to thank Afifa for being an amazing guest. Make sure you check out her LinkedIn and her websites for her businesses. They could be of success for you guys, maybe. You never know. I would suggest just checking them out. That could help you or someone you know. So again, thank you so much, Afifa, for being a guest on the show. Remember, guys, if you want to watch me launch a podcast live, you can check out my Facebook profile. Find me on Facebook at Phil Better. It's very simple. I am the devilishly handsome one. But ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you again for listening to the podcast, and I wish you a pleasant evening, and remember to invest in yourself.
Thanks for tuning in. Now it's time to take the next step. When you're ready to dive deeper into how to launch, grow, and monetize your podcast, Phil's got something special for you. Join him for a free webinar where he'll reveal the 3 secrets that have helped countless entrepreneurs succeed in podcasting. Click the link in the show notes to save your spot, and let's turn your podcasting dreams into reality.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Just go to Indeed.com/kidsandfamily right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.